I'm in Bangkok, I'm Lᴜධᴇ and I'm searching for some green space. Bangkok is a city full of concrete and metal. Buildings, roads, bitumen, everywhere. And unfortunately this absorbs a lot of the sun and a lot of the heat. And it makes Bangkok an unbearably, well, it contributes to making Bangkok a really stinking, hot, disgusting city at times. Fortunately, however, the Bangkok government is trying to change all of this, and by the end of 2021, they hope to have announced and opened or announced 9 new park areas in Bangkok. So these new parks are what they're considering the greening of Bangkok, more to increase the green spaces here in Bangkok. So today, for my mission, I'm going to go and have a look at Chulalongkorn Centenary Park, which is uniquely built because it's got something to do with the water system, which also has something to do with the flooding system. So I'm actually not quite sure about it. So that's why I want to go and have a look at this this new park at Chulalongkorn University in their grounds. So credit to the Bangkok government. Their aim is by 2030 is to increase the amount of green space in Bangkok. Currently, there's about 7 square meters per person in Bangkok, and they're hoping to increase that to 10 square meters per person by 2030. So I'm going to explore some of this new park, and also I think in future videos I'm going to explore a lot more of these parks because I'm actually pretty keen to get out and see some of nature and to get a bit of oxygen in my lungs and to breathe some nature air and also experience some cool air as well, rather than the stinging hot that's often faced with here in Bangkok. So we've got these. This is also one of the purposes of this park is an outdoor classroom. So you can see there's a couple of exhibits here. This one is about water power, turbine power. There's another one here with wind power and another one with solar energy as well. So the outdoor classroom, excellent for my daughter. So this is one of 3 major greening the city projects that are taking place at the moment in Bangkok. So this is the first one that's open. There's another one at Makassar, which is a massive area out near where the former still today there's a railway tracks, but it used to be a big railway depot area. So there's a greening project that's underway at the moment, and also, as I did in a previous video, Bangkok Park, there was the area at the end of Soi Nana, which was the Thailand tobacco monopoly. There's a big green space there it's under construction at the moment. So this is one of three of those such spaces. One thing I do like about this park is it's very neatly laid out, architecturally significant, special, yet it's still got nature kind of being nature. I know it's all kind of planted and positioned in a certain way. It's not a clean cut, things aren't perfectly lined up. I'm thinking about parks, for example, in China, where everything is perfectly lined up and straight and has an industrial feel. This park, while they've spent millions and millions and millions on it, it's actually still a bit rough around the edges by design. I really like that style, but it's a wonderful space. Definitely worth visiting. So I'm walking up to the top of the park, and then I'll look down and you'll see that there's the different levels here. So Bangkok, with its with the rising sea levels, they're very concerned about the flooding that occurs here from time to time. So this area here over my shoulder is designed to be a catchment space for water, and rather than trying to, I think what they've done in the past is cover canals and try and defeat the water system. Here they're actually trying to embrace the water system, so they're allowing the water to flow. Underneath me is a big catchment area, but it's also a filtration system for the water as well, so we'll go down and have a look at that as well. A beautiful cityscape here as well. The skyline. Yeah, wonderful park to visit. Definitely worth visiting. Actually, for the non-nature lovers, I can see just behind me there's a go-kart track. There's a big white dome and a go-kart track. Maybe that's more your cup of tea. Yeah, water is a real issue in Bangkok. That's probably why Thailand's one of the world's #1 producers of rice, because rice grows in the wet, grows in the marsh. In fact, recently I was asking my wife the word bang. I see it a lot: Bangkok, Bang Rak, Bang Na. I said, what's the word bang mean? And she said it's kind of reclaimed marshland. And then when I looked at the map and saw all the places that have bang as the prefix, I figured, wow, all of these places must have been marsh, must have been swampland. So water is a major concern here in Thailand. In fact, when you're flying, you'll notice when you're flying out of Bangkok or into Bangkok, you'll notice how much water actually there is around in Bangkok, in the greater Bangkok area as well. So in the big cities here, with so much concrete around, when the rain does fall, where does it actually flow? And just last month, in fact, we had some here up in the north, just kind of north of Ayutthaya. There was a lot of storm. There was a lot of rainfall, and then the concern was the rain, that excess rainfall flowed all the way down to the Chao Phraya River, and it coincided with one of the biggest high tides that we've ever had as well. So there was a lot of sandbags being laid down to try and prevent the floods. But there was images much like there was a lot of contrast and comparison with Venice. It's like, will Bangkok be Venice in the future? Will the water actually just take over? I think we're a few years away from that, but it's interesting, this park here, how it's designed specifically with water in mind, with more water at the forefront. The other kind of key aspect of this is they want to design this park like a rain tree. Now, the rain tree is actually one of the symbols of Chulalongkorn University, and the idea is that the branches reach out and that they cover and shelter people and shelter things below from the rainfall. But then down below is where the roots are, and that's where the water actually does seep through the earth and gets to the root system. So this design behind me is trying to kind of emulate that rain tree feel, with the top platform is sheltering, whereas down below is where the water actually flows down to and can get filtered down below there. So we'll go down below and have a closer look down here. Now, just we go that direction, that gets to the Silom area of town, and there's also a new Sunlam shopping mall, which is a new addition to the Chala land mass that's here. So we'll go and visit that. And if you look over my shoulder, you'll see some pretty cool outfits. So this here behind me is a rain tree, if you're not familiar with a rain tree, and that one in particular was planted by the king's sister, the current King Ramaten's sister. Time for an afternoon cup of coffee. Found a good spot called Brave Roasters. Let's give their coffee bean a try. Just had a delicious Americano from Brave Roaster. I ordered the Americano hot coffee, and it was made from a coffee bean which was from Chiang Mai, Jai Suk Sern. It was very nice. Had some kind of chocolatey tones, blueberry, a hint of blueberry, that kind of a flavour. Wasn't too strong, but I did like their motto above the counter. They say, "Coffee so strong it wakes the neighbours." It's a cool little place. I recommend it. It's just opposite Chulalongkorn University, a small, quaint little place. I've given it 5 stars on Google Maps. I like it, and I'll be back here. It's great coffee. Sloth Coffee Bar. I'll have to come back to here. It's closed at the moment, but I do like the name and the concept. I love sloths. No matter which part of the world you go to, around the universities, where they always have the coolest kind of cafes and shops, and here's no difference. Just outside, I'm just on the outside of Chulalongkorn University on the way to Samyan. There's a new shopping mall here that I'm going to go and have a look at. There's some cool shops around here, really good. Worth a visit. Through the famous Samyan tunnel, and classic Thai, they've turned the tunnel into a party zone. It was like being in a discotheque there. So it was fun kind of a vibe there in the middle of the day to have all the lights and the party music there. People were having a great time taking photographs of each other. So I just went online. I wanted to find a bit of history about that place because it looked really interesting. There was a glass floor and exposing some kind of construction material underneath, and so I looked it up, and I was expecting some amazing history, but just like Dragon Town, it's a newly built tunnel, so there's no historical value at all to this tunnel. However, maybe in 100 years it'll have some historical value, but right now it's just a cool tunnel, really cool tunnel, great for taking photos, and if you come here right now, it's like party time. So this is Samyan Mitrtown, and just behind me you can just make out Mahanakhon Just above the yellow billboard up here, Mahanakhon Tower, which is the tallest building in Bangkok, and it's over 300 meters tall, and that'll be a future video. I'll go and explore not only that building but that area around it as well. Also over my shoulder is Wat Chulalongkorn, which is has a historical relevance in Bangkok, and I'm going to explore that in greater detail in a future video. So that whole area behind me is the Thaton, Silom area. So future videos. 1899 is when Chulalongkorn first started and founded the first academic institution, and that was in the yards of the Royal Palace. And then in 1911, that's when it was moved to this site here, which is just near the BKK and Samyan Mitrtown, the Chulalongkorn University site that it is now. So this was in 1911 when it moved to this site, the current site where it still is now. It's a huge block of land, and the land was divided up into different schools eventually. So there's the science faculty, the law faculty, and so on. But the grounds are so big that the university decided that they wanted to have some other streams of revenue coming in. So they enlisted the help of a management group and it's with this management group that's been around for a few decades now. That's when they started doing leases on the land, and that's where BKK came into play. It's got a lease on one of the plots of land which is on the land of Chulalongkorn University, and same with Siam Square. Pretty cool area around here, wandering the streets of just around the outskirts of the Chulalongkorn University. So it's worth a look around here. Some cool places. The new normal, learning institutes. Kids need to pick up their homework and drop off outside the learning institute. The new normal, online learning, at-home learning. So just near the fire station, just south of Suam Luang Park, or Suam Luang Square, is another cluster of shops. It looks fairly newly built. It's like one of those sites where they've put it's got an industrial kind of a feel to it, and there's a lot of kind of smallish restaurants, shops, but there's also a startup space as well. It looks like a creative space as well. Anyway, it's quite new, so it hasn't really taken off just yet. So this is one of the places I'd like to come back to in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and hopefully there's a little bit more meat on the bones here. Particularly, it looks like a really cool place to come at night time. But there's a lot of shops. Like there's one here called Sati Handicraft, which is a newly fitted shop, but there's nothing in there at the moment. So whether these are signs of the pandemic, whether the shops have cleared out or they haven't actually moved in just yet, I'm not 100% sure, but this is an area I want to come back to and see what it's like in a couple of months. So it's just south of the fire station, and north of it is Samyan Market. There's a nice little market here. It's very clean and tidy. It's not on the entrance says it's So it looks like at Samyan market up on the second floor, there's plenty of places to eat, and on the base, on the ground floor, there's plenty of stalls. There's even a wet market down the end. This is Samyan market. I'm at the wet end, which is it's in the afternoon, so there's not a lot of activity. If you know market spaces in Thailand, they're often, particularly these wet markets, they're often morning kind of fairs. Anyway, PMCU is the management group that controls all the land that's Chulalongkorn University's grounds, conveniently named PMCU. Property Management, Chulalongkorn University. And they've been managing the grounds, this massive plot of land, for decades now. So exploring the vast body of land that is Chulalongkorn University and the surrounding areas, I've actually really curious about Chulalongkorn the king. He's probably, from what I know, is the most loved, most revered king. He was instrumental in modernising Thailand. I'm actually a big fan. Whatever I read about Chulalongkorn, I really like. He visited Europe. He learned a lot from Europe, and then brought back here, brought back some of his learnings to Thailand. So things like education, transportation, infrastructure. One other thing I like about Chulalongkorn is not only did he travel a lot overseas to learn, he also used to travel around Thailand incognito to actually, so he was in touch with the people as well. So he would disguise himself, travel up country, talk to the people. So he really had his finger on the pulse. I really, really like that. So in future videos, I'd like to explore more about the man Chulalongkorn and what he did in Thailand, and some historical sites that are associated with King Chulalongkorn. So to conclude this video, well done Bangkok for increasing your green space, increasing the oxygen for all the people living here in Bangkok. It's a credit to you. Also, I'm really impressed with what this area, this Chulalongkorn University area, what it's become, what it started out as, and this whole idea of education. I kind of come to realise why I get so excited around university areas, because I'm one of the true believers in education, and I got 4 university degrees to prove it. Whenever I get around universities, I keep thinking about other things that I could possibly learn or more study I can do. And actually, that's one of the motivations for this video series, is to learn more about Bangkok and to share it with you all. So I'm enjoying this discovery, and I'm enjoying getting to know Bangkok. I've only lived here for a year, so it's nice getting to know Bangkok and sharing everything that I find and discover with you all.